Hey guys, before we get started, I just want to ask that you comment, like, and subscribe. Comment, like, and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, make sure the little bell is set to ring, let you know when I post a new video. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Thanks for watching. What's up, guys? Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Okay, so I know I'm shirtless right now, and there's a reason for that. One, because I've been working out a lot, and things are getting to where I want them to be. And the other reason is because people are always asking about my diet, because I've posted a couple thirst traps on Instagram, and I admit they're partly me patting myself on the back, and they are partly thirst traps. It's nice to get a couple DMs every now and then, you know? But here's the deal. When it comes to diet, I don't usually give people a lot of advice on diet. I'll tell you what I do, and I do kind of my own hybrid between paleo. I use parts of paleo, I use parts of Atkins, I use parts of South Beach, and I really just watch my portions on everything. I also track a fair amount on the MyFitnessPal app. If you guys want to get that, it's available on Android and iPhone as well, which I'm not in any way sponsored with anything that I'm going to talk about, and I think you guys probably know that by now, but I just say it because sometimes for legal reasons people want you to say who you're sponsored by or who you're not sponsored by, and I am sponsored by absolutely nobody. Wouldn't mind being sponsored by some people, but I am sponsored by nobody. So I kind of keep it just kind of low carb, high protein, but I also try to think in the way of what works for me and what works for my body. Because I've been working out for quite a while. Like, I had gained some weight when I was in my relationship, and at different points I've gained, weight here and there. But, I've done a lot of different, where I just work out and I'm really good about my self-discipline and my eating plan. I don't really think in terms of diet anymore as much as I think just the way that I eat, and because of the way that my body seems to react to different things. Like, I've noticed with dairy, even though on Atkins they say that you should just go with the whole version of whatever instead of like skim or whatever like that. But I've noticed when it comes to me and dairy, my body processes dairy better when it's like part skim. So if it's like, my string cheese, that's part skim string cheese. If it's my ricotta dessert that's taken from South Beach, like that's a South Beach recipe exactly, and it just satisfies my little bit of a sweet tooth. But at the same time, it's not doing anything to my body as far as, making me gain weight. It just satisfies the sweet tooth. It's a half cup. I do measure everything out. I know not everybody is going to do that. The only thing I don't measure is when I have kale, because like if I have kale or I have spinach, usually I'll have that just plain. Like, I don't use any dressing or anything like that, and I'll just take a big handful, because I realized at a point that a big handful for me does equal to a loosely packed cup, or 2 cups, of whatever leafy green it is I've had. So I know that that's pretty, a pretty accurate thing. I've done it a couple of times back in the beginning, and I was like, well, this comes out to exactly this anyway, so I might as well just do it that way. But as far as like if I'm having a half cup of something, like I'll have a half cup of sweet potatoes. I've also learned that I like the way that sweet potatoes kind of fill out my body more. Like, I know what it's like to look really depleted, and sometimes I do like that look. Sometimes I think that that's what I like, and then I'll start adding a little bit more of like sweet potato or kale, stuff like that, and I'll start noticing things fill out a little bit more, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of like the way this looks, like, and I don't feel like I'm losing like my stomach over it. It's, it really is just figuring out what works for you and your body. And so, like, it's also important, even if you don't continue, because I don't continue to read like the Atkins book or the South Beach book, but I read both of those. Like, I read the Atkins book cover to cover when I first did that. That was several years ago now that I did that, first started doing Atkins. And I stuck to the Atkins, like, induction phase, so the 2 weeks or whatever, and I think I lost, I don't know, it was something ridiculous, like 20 pounds, and like then I had just moved to LA, or like not just moved to LA, but it was like when I was first getting to LA, and there was like a point where I just had to eat whatever I had to eat, and really I was living in my truck, and you know what I mean, so it wasn't like I could really worry about diet. So then when I decided to actually buckle down and like, okay, now I can pay attention to what I'm eating more, and pay attention a little bit more to my weight, my health. That's the other thing, and I'm sorry to jump off on a tangent here, but just when it comes to deciding what it is you want and what's going to work for you as far as an eating plan goes, also think about, are you going for more of an aesthetic? Is there a way that you want your body to look? Or is it just something you want to do for health purposes? Because health purposes, you can be a lot freer with yourself. When you're going for a particular look, then obviously you're going to have to pay a little more attention. But like either way, it's a good way to do it. Whatever it is you're looking for in your life, like don't worry about what I'm doing or anybody else is doing, your neighbor, your best friend, what they think you should look like. Worry about what it is you want to accomplish, because that's going to be your best motivator if you're actually getting the results that you want for what it is you need in your life. You can make yourself miserable trying to live somebody else's dream, but really, what's that going to help? You're not going to be happy. And if you're ever truly feeling deprived, maybe you need to look at your eating plan, because I personally, at this point, do not feel hungry. Like there are times that I want to have things that I know that my body has just been trained over years to want, like, soda. I mean, I would like to have a soda a day or a couple of sodas a day, but for me, I also know that I don't like the way that makes my body look, and it does make a big difference, and it's just for me momentary satisfaction, and it's not. But then there's some diets that say that you can have like Coke Zero or something like that. I personally don't like the taste of the artificial sweeteners when it comes to soda, so I stay away from that, and I just abstain from soda. Sundays, when I have cheat day, which even that, I stopped having cheat day as much as I used to. I used to have cheat day every Sunday. Now it feels like I don't really need one as much, because my body just likes the way that I eat when I'm being good. And so I just feel better, And like I said, experiment with your body and see what works for you, and kind of tailor your plan to that. Like I've also learned that there's certain ways that my body works better when it comes to the stuff that I have to do. So if I eat certain things, it's going to be better for that. Like if I eat before I go on stage, before I'm doing a set, a lot of times I'll feel sluggish after I eat, like if I eat a full meal. But if I just have 2 stems of celery, then I can get on stage and perform, and I feel light, but at the same time I feel satisfied. And celery is a negative calorie effect food, and so it kind of has the effect on your body of not really eating and actually taking calories away, because it takes your body more calories to burn celery than celery actually gives. So, which I may have described that wrong. Not a scientist, not a doctor, but if you do the research on it, negative calorie effect foods, check out celery and see what that says. For all I know, it's been debunked now, and now I'm giving bad information and you guys don't trust me. But celery helps me achieve this body, so I don't think it can be doing anything too bad. And then also, you have to think about like factors like your age, and whether we like to admit it or not, our metabolism changes after a certain age, so you have to keep that in mind too. Like sometimes you're looking at somebody on Instagram, and maybe they're showing what it is they're eating and all the stuff they're having and the way their diet works out, but they're in their 20s. And maybe also they're just built that way. Different people from different regions are built different ways, which should make sense to anybody. Like a Viking, a person that comes from, Viking descent, is obviously going to have a different frame than a person that, say, was born in China. Like they're different frames, they're running different. It's like one is a Hummer and the other's a Honda, So you have to think about that too, like genetically what works best for you. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. That's why I don't really tell people what they should be doing for their diet. I would say to start tracking your calories and see what it is you're eating, and just let yourself eat the way you eat for a day. and track everything in the MyFitnessPal app, so that you see how many calories it is you're eating. And a lot of the stuff with the MyFitnessPal app, there's a part of it where you can click on the little window, and then it serves as a scanner. And so you can scan in the foods you're eating. Like, you'd be surprised. They have a pretty huge database at this point. There's still some stuff, but even as far as fast food, a lot of times they'll have the calories that are in, like, say a Big Mac or something like that, and how many carbs it has. And they have all the caloric information, all the nutritional information. And so you put that in, and then you're like, wow, this is how much I should be eating a day, and this is what I'm actually eating. Sometimes you'll notice if you're really messing up, and I hate to judge like that, but, or if you're really maybe not doing the best or not paying attention, you'll notice that you'll be eating all your calories in 1-2 meals at the most. Actually, a lot of people are eating them in one meal and thinking, like, well, I'm doing pretty good. And it's like, no, actually you're doing terrible, and it's not your fault. You just didn't realize that actually has that many calories. So give yourself a day and just see where you're at, and then see, okay, like, what do I want to do? How can I actually make this what I need it to be, or get it down to where I need to be? And be patient with yourself, because you're going to mess up. We all mess up when we're first starting out. I still mess up now sometimes, where I just don't look at it that way. Now I look at it more like, okay, I must have really needed that. Now it's time to get back on track and get back to what we're doing. I just took 3 days off. Friday, my niece had come into town and she wanted to go to Dirt Dog. And I wasn't going to tell her no to Dirt Dog. If I'm going to have a Dirt Dog, I'm probably going to have either a Coke or a Dr. Pepper with it. I went with Cherry Coke. But that's just something I did and a choice I made. So then that night was when I did acid, and okay, of course, when I'm on acid, I'm not going to be, like, particularly worried about my diet. I didn't go crazy, but I did have a couple Midori sours. Girl drinks, I know. But I liked Midori sours with cherries, and so I had Midori sours with cherries. And then the following day, I ended up having pizza, and I just felt like I needed that for that couple of days, I mean, like, I drank beer on the Saturday, not a whole lot, and I did a couple shots, but I feel when I do stuff like that, because it's not when I'm really on my game and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, that doesn't happen often. There's a way you can make that happen if you want to have a couple big drinking nights, and I wouldn't recommend against that either. If you figure out how to make it work with all your calories and stuff like that, and you know that you're just going to have one of those weekends where you get down with your friends and family, and you don't want to, mess up what you've already done with as far as losing some weight, because at least you're doing that right. But yeah, then you just go for it for a couple of days. And I look at it sort of like when you're doing tug of war. You know how you'll have the rope and you'll be pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. And then sometimes you kind of have to let it go a little bit so that you can get a better grip and pull it again. So I look at it sort of like that, when it comes to that. That's like you letting go so that you can get a better grip. And now I'm ready to go back to, the last 2 days I've gone back to my eating plan, and I was happy to be back, I mean, like, it was good, but pizza isn't as good as, I don't know, I just don't love things like that anymore, just because I've been eating like this for so long. Like, when I was with my ex, I always felt kind of, because we were eating more for his metabolism, because he wanted for us to eat the same things in a lot of cases, which, I wanted to go along in that way, and it wasn't, at all a terrible thing. It was actually kind of sweet of him and kind of sweet of me to give in. But it just was what it was, and so I was eating the way he ate, and then it's like, I'm gaining weight. Well, he's 27, and I'm not 27. So then I started to gain weight, and I didn't like the way my body felt even. It wasn't just about the way I looked and the aesthetic of it. It really was about, I just feel like I feel heavy all the time and lethargic and slow and every other synonym you can think of that would describe that feeling, You just have to really, like I said, figure out what works for you. And I'll show you guys, I also carry a lunch bag with me. In another episode, I'll show you that. The next one probably won't be about this, and I'll probably be wearing a shirt again. But And I also don't understand that I'm not trying to act like my body is perfect, because I know it's not. Like, I'm not trying to be that guy. Like, oh, you should want to be like me or whatever like that. Like, I have friends that are even like just snatched is the word that I would use. And then I have friends that are huge as well. And so it's like, I'm not trying to act like this is the ideal or say anything like that. All I know is I was in my relationship. I had gained weight. I lost a bunch of weight. And now people are asking about my diet. And I never mind people asking me about anything. I try to help out in any way I can, when I can help out. And so I'm giving you the best advice I can give you when I say, do a little bit of research. Like, you don't even have to read the whole books. You can just read the way the principles work and be like, okay, does this work for me? Does that sound like something I would be able to do? And think about what, even Google, like, how many grams of, because, it'll say, like, you probably want to keep it to under this many grams of this and this many grams of that. And so you just look at some of your favorite foods. How many grams of this is this? And okay, think like, would that work for me in the way that I want to live, the way that I want to eat? Just, do research. South Beach, they're like, all really, when it comes to that, like picking a diet, what I would tell you is any one of them will work. It's just finding the one that you're going to stick with. So I hope that was helpful, and I hope I didn't ramble too much. Either way, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. Thank you for watching, everybody.